Now, we applied for permanent residence for John and for Yoko. We won Yoko's case, and she was granted residence, but John's case was denied. We went up on appeal before the Board of Immigration Appeals, and we lost there as well. And we are now before the United States Circuit Court of Appeals on the same issue.
Welcome back to Take 10, and if you're just tuning in today, we're talking about the new off-Broadway play called Ears on a Beatle, and joining me once again is Mayor Michael Wilds of Englewood, whose father represented John Lennon and Yoko Ono during the immigration trial, and of course Dan Lauria, who's one of the actors in the play Ears on a Beatle. Thanks for joining us once again on Take 10. So your father, of course, we just saw a clip of your father with John Lennon. Tell us about their relationship together. They actually grew close, even though your father didn't know who he was at first.
Extraordinarily close. They actually shared the final decision in the case with Yoko when she gave birth to Sean in the hospital. My mother and my father were invited by Yoko and John at the time to come and read the final decision. He was supposed to actually come to my bar mitzvah celebration, and I remember he called me and said that Sean had an earache. So I said, well, you know, give him some medicine and come, you know. Everybody, they're waiting for you to come. They're not waiting to see me, you know.
That's wild, though. That must have been
but he was
a
wonderful.
great time for you.
He used to call our home knowing that the phones were being tapped and act like an old lady. And my father used to talk in Yiddish on the case to my grandfather, thinking that the FBI would have the burden now of having to get somebody to actually translate it, and somebody would earn a few bucks on the effort.
Oh, jeez. That's great. Now, of course, you when you met Leon Wilds, what did you think of all the stories he was telling you, Dan?
Oh, I love. My first question to him as an actor was not about all the legal stuff or the facts in the FBI file, because I could read those myself. I just said, did you like him? And he said that he thought John Lennon was one of the nicest people he's ever met, and that makes it easy for me to play the scene when I come back and talk about meeting him for the first time. And one of the most interesting aspects of our production is that on Tuesdays we'll have talkbacks after the show, and the questions, Leon he's a real ham. He's a bigger ham than I am.
So you have those talkback things where the people in the audience can come and
right, and we've had Leon up there with Mr. Schiano, who was the prosecutor, and I thought it was going to be a fighting match, but it's not. It's really interesting. We had Dick Cavett, Ben Brofman talking. It's great.
Vinny Schiano was the lead prosecutor for the case, and there was a great story where John was with my father and Mr. Schiano right before they were going into the court. And there was some window scaffolding that was coming up, and John thought that the FBI was actually following him on the window scaffolding. And when he found out that Vinny Schiano was actually the lead lawyer for the case, he grabbed my father's handkerchief and started shining his shoes.
Really?
Yeah.
He wanted to stay in this nation so badly, so badly.
Now, Dan, obviously you play one of the two FBI agents in this two-man show, and your character, Howard Ballantyne, he was the one who wasn't really fond of Lennon at first, and then all of a sudden he bonded with him, and he was, you know. Yeah,
and unfortunately, my character, as the way we portray it, because he's a composite of a lot of FBI officers.
No, it's like a fictional character that was, you know, letting out historic information.
Right, but my character at the end of the play is pretty much destroyed because, in a sense, I'm the one who killed John Lennon, because if I had done my job, he would have been deported and maybe still be alive and writing music.
There's a great scene in the play when Dan comes back from having bumped into John Lennon in a telephone costume. Yeah. And the exchange between Dan having a daughter who was infatuated with Lennon and the political exchange of the times speaks in great part what we're enduring there with the Patriot Act, the civil liberties, the way the FBI went after somebody who advocated for peace and for love with an eye towards a political aim. And it sends a very strong message, and I think speaks intergenerationally to a lot of generations. And we're hoping that people will actually go. It's a most affordable ticket. There are discounts for groups to go. It's
it's off-Broadway. It's much less than a Broadway play. And it does speak, it's not a play about then. It's a play about now.
It's, yeah, because obviously the topic is more timely now than it ever was before.
It really is a play, regardless of what your politics says. You should see it. It's important.
No, it's important for even younger people to come out and see it. That
one of the greatest questions I heard the other day. A young 16-year-old girl is asking her mother after the play, because we have the voiceovers in between, and they mention Nixon being, up for impeachment. And the young girl said to the mother, did he have an affair too? I thought that was good. And when you get that kind of response after a play, that kind of questioning and talking about what's going on.
I didn't get that in the political manual that they gave me in Bergen County, you know.
Well, we have to explain to a lot of people who Agnew is, who, even John Kerry's early involvement is mentioned in the play. So.
Really?
Oh, yes. It's not a one side or the other play. It's a very factual play about what happened, disguised in a lot of humor.
Excellent.
Very
Gentlemen,
comprehensive.
I'm sure everyone wants to come out and see it. Now, it's being performed at the DR2 Theater. This is off Broadway, and that's 103 15th Street.
East 15th Street.
East 15th Street.
Right off Union Square.
There's a website also, Dan. Is it earsonabeatle.com? Or they can check my website, which is michaelwilds.org, and there's a link to it, actually.
Excellent. And of course, your performance on Wonder Years, this, obviously you lived through the time, and, your performance on Wonder Years, you actually studied the time for quite a while for your TV show.
Yeah, sure. Well, I didn't have to study too much. I lived through those times.
Yeah.
I was a Vietnam vet, so. But I drafted a lot of them. Some of the voiceovers, Fred Savage does one. Danica McKellar, who played Winnie Cooper, does one. So I got them back in there.
Right, excellent.
He's a dean in playing this role. It honors not only my father, the case, but the issue and the cause that it celebrates. And we urge everybody in the area to go see it.
Gentlemen, thanks for joining us today on Take 10 and
Thank
talking
you.
about
Pleasure.
the play
Thank you.
Ears on a Beatle. Thank you. And thank you for joining us as well. Stay tuned for more Channel 10.